Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Welcome to episode 317 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from the NIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. And as you know, we just call it HBCU Sports Pedagogy. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that being said, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Morgan State at number 4, as Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, number 4 in the rankings for HBCU programs. At number 4, North Carolina Central. So Morgan State goes on the road, and this is on ESPN 2 as it's moved up. So I'm excited about that for you all that may not be realizing keeping that much up with North Carolina Central. I know there's few and far between for our fans. That's Davius Richard leading that number 4 North Carolina Central team, who looks to bounce back as, you know, they kind of knocked off a couple of weeks ago after the bye week. Before that, they had Campbell. They facing Morgan State that had that tough homecoming loss to Norfolk State that was previously up with 5. But before that, Morgan State was trending and still seems to be trending in the right direction. I say all that to say, don't worry, stay right here. You can keep one eye on your show stream and make sure you keep an eye on us, but we'll give you some updates throughout this, so we'll keep up with it, make sure that you get all your latest and greatest news out there. Other thing is from the SWAC office conducting a full-scale investigation into Southern-Prairie View brawl courtesy of HBCU Sports. Basically, you have a quote from the commissioner's office, the conference office, along with 2 respective member institutions, of collectively reviewing video footage of the altercation in order to positively identify all participants. The SWAC has said, quote, in addition to investigating the altercation, the conference office is also currently reviewing the game day security protocols that were in place for the respective contests. So that's going to be something interesting to keep your eyes on. Obviously, you had the transition in the athletic director's role at Prairie View. Looking at the officials, what does that mean? Coaches, based on what you heard Bubba McDowell said, he alleges that the altercation started with Southern stomping on the logo. Regardless, you saw all the other activities. So we'll get into that as we get into a couple of talk things in nature like this. I did want to say this as a young man. I remember watching TV on Sundays. You know, you get all your other stuff, but on Sundays you're prepping for school. And if you like my house, pops, your mom to some degree, certainly pops will turn on 60 Minutes. So intriguing to me, kind of take me back, because I just realized and just heard that Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, will be on 60 Minutes this Sunday. So it kind of takes me back to those days. I'm going to have to call my dad and tell him we can chuckle and maybe watch it together, streaming on the phone, and talk about it a little bit, just to reminisce a little bit in terms of how that looks. With that being said, let me get into it. Charles, how you doing?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. Looking forward to these matchups. You got Of course, you started off with talking about Morgan State, North Carolina Central, but also got a huge one in the SWAC this weekend with Alcorn visiting Baton Rouge to take on Southern. So we got some good matchups to talk about. And then, of course, huge one in the SIAC, Benedict and Albany State. So looking forward to getting into it.
How you doing, Mike?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Glad to see these Astros pull out a win.
I just saw.
Ready to go into the weekend. Got some good matchups coming, as CB alluded to. So ain't nothing to it but to do it. We're gonna make it do what it do.
Let me go back to Charles because he's gonna have to get out of his little Atlanta talk. They bounced back. They 1-1. So let me be fair. Y'all can get that out the way. All right, MLB baseball got their shine. The two World Series that faced off with each other. It's be fascinating to see if it becomes a rematch. With that said, I'm gonna go to you, Charles, because I want you to talk a little bit about the news about freshman Travis Hunter. My understanding that he's back at practice.
Yeah, he's back at practice, and Coach Brownie alluded to, once we get to a certain point in the season, we're gonna see some pieces to this Jackson State defense that we have not seen thus far. And right now they lead the nation in total defense, surrendering only 185 yards per game. But Travis is a different talent guy, and you can use him in a variety of ways. So to get him healthy, especially during this next stretch of games where you have Bethune-Cookman on Saturday, then you go on to homecoming versus Campbell, and then of course there's going to be a huge matchup with Southern behind that. But to have him healthy going on during this stretch of games for Jackson State is going to be huge. And all three of those pieces, Travis, Shiloh, another individual that could be added to the defensive line, but this defense, it hasn't peaked yet. So it's going to be very interesting to watch this Jackson State team here in the second half of the season.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Mike, what direction you want to go in with the news of the day?
Let's talk personnel. I know we talk, major and other divisions, but looks like I was checking out the SIAC has some news. It looks like they've added Miss Danielle Mathis to the staff as deputy commissioner. Effective today as deputy commissioner, Mathis will serve as administrative oversight for internal business operations. With the SIAC office, she will support the role of commissioner by managing daily operations and accounting. So tremendous chance as a league to improve their internal operations, according to quotes. So prior to joining the SIAC staff, Mathis worked in athletics, advancement, marketing, and communications office from multiple institutions over the course of 6 years. Most recently, she worked in the proposals division for an Arlington, Virginia-based program and project management consulting firm that specializes in federal government contract. Interesting. So someone from the government sector with a business and an acumen for project has been brought to the SIAC staff to bring, looks like, some external expertise on board to assist with internal operations. I think that's a unique approach in and of itself. So
that's a great point. And when you talk about new hirings, human resources in that department, it kind of picks up as during the show last week, we talked about FAMU finding athletic director, VP of athletics, if you would, in terms of Tiffany Dawn Sykes. And you start to hear some of this rumbling out here in terms of the space, who's most prepared. But I'm always fascinated living in this space. I've always tried to share with folks that the only people that can prove anything at a university is the board. We had a board meeting today. I was talking to another friend in Clark, Atlanta. They had a board meeting today. And, you do have policies where people can approve something in terms of a set amount, purchasing things. But in terms of human resources and bringing people into the organization, the sole organization that has the ability to hire and or fire, dismiss, is the board, whether it's the board of trustees, board of regents, board of governors, depending on what state you're in. That's the case. So I'm always fascinated when people talk about this, when you have these committees, and I'm not sure how much validity to put in committees in the first place, because I think people need to hire who they essentially want. But if you're going to go the committee route, it's always the fact that the committee is making a recommendation. And so oftentimes you talk about ranking systems, if you would, and you're familiar with this, Mike, in terms of even on the corporate governance structure, when you making a recommendation on the VP or executive director, you've seen this too, Charles, in terms of the governance, government structure and things of that nature. Oftentimes they won't even let you select the best three. You just rank them, if you would, and have scores, and then you pass it on and say, hey, these are notes, our thoughts, these are scores. And then the person that's in the position to do the hiring does that. I've seen them go with somebody that you think makes sense, and I've seen them also go off the board. Nobody that wasn't even on the committee, that they go take somebody else. You'd be like, what happened? We didn't even, well, never mind. Whatever. You got to work with them. But when you talk about that hiring, firing, always fascinating when that stuff comes out. Any thoughts on that, Mike, being in the corporate structure?
What caught me is her background. Typically, when you put a committee together, they look at someone. Well, what's her background in athletics? She has more of an acumen and a history and expertise in project management, journalism, marketing, and communication. Which there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes it's hard to get university when they put a board together to make these decisions, to kind of look outside the box a little bit and say, do we need someone with an outside perspective to bring to the organization? So that's what kind of got me with that one, that they obviously were looking at other criteria, other data points, as I say, you know, when they hired her. So.
I mean, that's a great point, because when we think about that all the time, I'm always talking about, you know, strategic, analytical, and are you within an organization that wants to stretch the envelope? Because you see this with the NCAA in athletics. If you're not in that umbrella, you can almost forget about getting in. What are your thoughts on that, Charles?
Yeah, I think Mike hit the nail on the head. When I was listening to the resume, you kind of heard the diverse background, and what jumped out is the background wasn't necessarily in athletics. And immediately I started thinking, wow, this is kind of sort of thinking outside the box and taking a look at maybe the job description and the duties of it, and matching that with the background of this individual coming to the organization. So I think, you know, when you start doing things like that, you're making a smart, strategic decision.
Yep.
Yeah, good thing, good thing. Another thing is like with the case I was talking about with FAMU, their area of most need in a lot of ways is compliance, because it don't matter championships and what you're trying to build. If you don't have individuals that are eligible, it's not going to do you any good. So it
does nothing. Yeah.
So oftentimes the recommendation, expectation of the board, and the board president that makes the recommendation ultimately to the board are going to look at the things that they say are necessary for that organization. So I've seen this on so many different levels. I've seen it here at Texas Southern University, where you think direction is going one way. The board ultimately makes a different decision based on the information they need, working with the president in that manner. So it's fascinating to see these kind of things. Let me go back to you, Charles, to see what other news of the day that you want to share.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at this. And this comes to us from UAPB Athletics. For a football game between Arkansas Pine Bluff and Alabama A&M will be played at Simmons Bank Field in Pine Bluff on Sunday at 3 p.m. Director of Athletics Chris Robinson said, based on the unfulfilled contractual obligations by the organizers of the St. Louis Classic, both schools were left with serious uncertainty about the game's venue, transportation, housing accommodations, and whether the agreed upon expenses would be covered. So smart move. The ADs, I guess, huddled on this and decided to make sure that this game is taking place in Pine Bluff. So unfortunately, the residents of St. Louis will not get the River City Classic, but the game will go for it.
Yeah, that having that upfront capital is important when you're trying to put together these classics. The thing that was beneficial about this, that this was a conference game, and essentially the game was in Huntsville, if you would, last year at the home of Alabama A&M. And so obviously this year the game was scheduled to be in Pine Bluff. And so once they saw that financial obligations were not going to be met, they quickly said, all right, we're just going to play it at home. So give some love to the fans. Hopefully it wasn't too many people that bought tickets and things of that nature, and it works out for them. If they did, lodging and travel plans, it seemed like they cut it off long enough where a lot of folks can cancel those things, at least with hotels, rental cars, airline tickets may be a little different. unless you have some of those long-standing miles where you can be able to get it back. But that would be troubling in that case. But that's interesting, fascinating when things go on. Before we take this quick break, I did want to get in here. Another one, Jackson State. This one is for individual players. Shedeur Sanders signs with Brady. Yeah, that Brady, the professional quarterback.
Yep.
Tom Brady has his own trademark line. And, quote, I'm so excited to work with Brady team, end quote. Tom Brady's namesake apparel brand is Brady. Is proud to announce his partnership with the star athlete Shedeur Sanders, quarterback for his historic Jackson State University Tigers. Brady continues to partner with top athletes who represent the next generation. I understand this is the first in a collegiate type athletics. He's quoted saying Shedeur Sanders is the perfect ambassador for Brady, says co-founder Tom Brady. He embodies everything we look for in a Brady athlete, and his character values align perfectly with ours. Not only is he an exceptional football player and a quarterback, but he is one of the most influential players of his generation, and we're thrilled that he is officially joining the Brady family. Then you had RG3 tweeted out today his top 5 for Heisman. Guess who was on the list?
He did. He
Shedeur
did.
Yes, he did.
On that list. So shout out to Robert Griffin III, said representing HBCU. So shout out to Shedeur Sanders. He's put in a lot of work. He's done it freshman, now sophomore year, and getting some accolades. And in terms of the NIL, he's actually having his presence out there, as some people would say, in terms of some of these other folks getting NILs that not necessarily marking the brand. So that's pretty positive. Let's get in our first break. We're going to come back on the other side in the second quarter. We're going to get into the rankings. We're going to get into the band marching sport rankings. I got some new tricks up here for you, a little more colorful, and see what you think when we come up with it.
This will be interesting.
Right back after the fourth quarter break, we're going to get into top 10 matchups. We had two teams, two sporting matches, I said, if you would, for bands, teams that went head to head in the top 5. We'll see what kind of changes just on the other side. Stick with us because this should be fun. This should be interesting.
I know one.
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach us.
This is Dr. Bill in Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're getting into the marching sport. Just to make sure that everybody's clear here, because some of y'all forget. This is not a voting poll in terms of popularity. This is not to see how many fans you can get out there and you love your band like you're supposed to all the time. You don't care how good, bad they are, who's the PA announcer, whether they travel or not. Oh, that doesn't work in this poll. This is about competition, meaning that you have to travel, you have to host another team, and there has to be a matchup, which means there's going to be a winner and a loser. So that's what we have in the poll ranking today. We're going to go with the top 10. Let's get into this top 10 today in regards to these teams here. I'll let you know my thoughts in terms of it. I'll give you a little bit about those that dropped out in terms of what that looks like. Let me see if I can get in here a little bit more about these poll rankings. Ooh. Dropping out, we didn't have any, so not a lot of movement there. Receiving votes was Texas Southern, Ocean of Soul. They're 0-2, but I told you about those tough matchups, so they still got some votes in there. They had a tough one against Prairie View that's in the top 10, and they had another tough one with Southern that's also in the top 10. We'll see where those two teams are. They continue to get it done in a lot of ways. Edward Waters, representing for the mid-majors, marching band, 1-0, 3-2 this season. Want to give a shout out to Miles a little bit. They're not in here, but we do have Albany that defeated Miles in the last band in terms of the Rand Show band that improved to 2-3 on the season. Let's get into the top 10. Number 10, as we continue to move forward, is North Carolina A&T. Blue and Gold Marching Machine, 1-1 on the season. They stay at number 10 with 8 points. Let's get into number 9. And number 9, you have none other than Tennessee State Aristocrats of Bands. They are 0-1 on the season. They at number 9. They've had a good season, good tough matchup with Jackson State earlier this season in Southern Heritage Classic. They didn't really get a chance to get a matchup with Lane, which have been fascinating to see what happened. Maybe they would have got a little backup from last year when they lost the upset to Kentucky State. Then Bethune-Cookman, with everything going on, is my understanding they originally weren't going to make the trip, but they did make it after that. So we'll see how long Tennessee State can stay in this. They don't have any other HBCU matchups to get in the conference race, so we'll see what that means. You got to participate. It is what it is. Let's get into number 8, since that is the case, and continue to move forward with it. Florida A&M marching 100. They're 1-1 on the season, 0-1. They took in March with North Carolina in terms of that. So they took a little bit of the culture with them. So that almost should have been a loss, because now you got folks getting up there talking about G-Ho and G-Ho and just robbing folks of the culture. So I almost want to punish them for that. But they had 27 points at 7. Yeah. They're not marching. They don't go anywhere. They take a lot of trips and they do a lot of things with Atlanta. So they're a big band that gets it done. But in terms of matchups, that's just not what they're in. We'll see if they can recover from that. They need to make sure they support the football team, and certainly in basketball season. Get in the gym. Support your teams. I know you're a big brand. You got your own thing going on, but part of this is about understanding the nature of supporting your team, particularly a team that's pretty good in the top 10. Let's get into number 7. At number 7, we have none other than Bethune-Cookman Marching Band, 2-0. They fell a little bit. They fell 3 spots from number 4, 29 points. They tend to have some matchups in trouble a little bit, but we don't know how the storm is going to affect them. So we'll see what that means as they drop with not participating. But they're at 2-0, so let you know just how excellent they are. Let's get into number 6, which is the last of the first 5 teams in the top 10. None other than 6, Alcorn State, the Sounds of Dynamite, a marching band. They proved it 2-2. They got a big victory a couple of weeks ago in terms of what they're doing, and they've been having some matchups regionally. It worked out, obviously, getting it done against Mississippi Valley. They are 41 points, and they move up 2 spots from number 8. So they continue to play, and they continue to get it done. You'd imagine they're going to go down to Southern, so it's a big-time matchup this week. Yeah. It sets up for another top 10 matchup. So kudos to the Sounds of Dynamite and making sure they get the band out there, getting it done, get some teams at home, and they're getting on the road traveling. Keep it up as we get into top 5. What does the top 5 look like as we figure out the rest of the top 5? I told you some matchups and changes. Let's get into number 5. At number 5, we get into North Carolina Central Sound Machine Marching Band. 2-0 on the season. They move up 1 spot in terms of what's going on there. It's interesting to see how many of the games in the MEAC they'll be able to perform and get those matchups, because not a lot of the bands travel. So they're going to have to do some themselves. They're in the number 5, and they get the bump up based on what some of the teams did last year. can they hold it based on the performance? Very solid band representing for the MEAC. Let's continue to go to number 4. At number 4, we have Prairie View A&M, the Marching Storm. 3-1 on the season, took their first loss of the season at home. They match up to Southern. Mike was talking about those multiple L's. Well, you see what that talks about. You can go check them out on 1876 Sports and Culture to get a little more insight in that. They fall 2 spots after the loss to Southern. 73 points total. They continue to get it done, but they're falling. They better get in some matchups and they better get some wins. Bringing us to number 3. What do we have at number 3? Jackson State, the Sonic Boom of the South. They take their first loss of the season. They upset to Alabama State. Football team dragged everybody around there. Coach got it done. I am SWAC. Well, the Sonic Boom couldn't get it done for homecoming. Just too much love, too much to overcome. Alabama State has nearly been shocking some people. They almost took down FAMU. Not to be last year. They tried to get it done on the road. The Sonic Boom of the South, not to be, but this time a road loss. Early in the season, drops down from number 1. So Sonic Boom of the South are at number 3. Bringing us to number 2. Charles can't even hold his face. He's so trying to understand what happened. Bringing us to number 2. Alabama State Marching Hornets. They improved. They move up 3 spots. They are undefeated on the season, 3-0, 1-0.
It's the Honeybees. It's the Honeybees.
Shout out to Marching Sport. The Honeybees found a way to get it done. They continue to represent and showed up and showed out, getting done. Bringing us to number 1. Who is the new number 1 this week? After Jackson State reigned supreme for a couple of weeks, is none other than the Southern Human Jukebox. They go on the road. They're undefeated, continue to be undefeated. They take out a top 5 team. So move up 2 spots from number 3. They're 3-0, 2-0 with 5 first place votes, 77 points. Your new number 1 in the poll ranking is none other than Southern Human Jukebox. I'm going to save you the misery, Charles. I'm not going to let you go first. So I'm going to make you hold it just a little bit. Mike, what are your thoughts on the top 10?
You know what? For the first time, I have no problem with this poll. From number 1 to number 2, the Honeybees are getting it done at Alabama State. Number 3, I agree. Jackson State, yes. They take a ride down in the polls. So I have nothing to say about this poll whatsoever. I saw Southern play. I saw Bethune. Bethune actually, for a band this size, looked pretty good, but I have nothing to say. I think this poll is on.
My man. That's my homecoming. That's my dude. He knows what he's talking about. He can keep the mic on. He gets to talk as much as he wants. That's what I'm talking about. Mike, I got you. Cigar, White Hennessy. You know what I'm saying? I got your back, man. Whatever you need. No more jokes about you on assignment. You brought back your paperwork. Your check is in the mail, bro. We're going to make sure you get all your money for your reimbursement. You did well. Charles, let's see if you're going to keep your money.
Well, I'll say this. Even if I'm willing to,
I'll say this, you know it's coming.
Even if I'm willing to concede the halftime show, Honeybees, they do their thing. God bless them, they do a hell of a job. But that 5th quarter with Jackson State, Alabama State wasn't even close. Golly. If you talk about, energy personified there at the end of the game, the Boom took out Alabama State there at the end. So I might concede the halftime show, but that 0 and 5th quarter, nah. And Mike, you see what I'm talking about now with Southern. They bring energy 0 quarter, halftime. Yeah. They're that one band that gets into it during the course of the game. Yes. Where they are that 12th man. They check boxes as far as all the elements, and then they still have some left over for you for 5th quarter. So I give it to the jukebox. They check the boxes on all the elements. Oh, yeah. If I could get my bands to be that 12th man, to give the team that energy, to not play a random cadence when the offense is backed up in their own territory, check the boxes, folks. It ain't hard.
If I could get Prairie View to not go Flight of the Bumblebee when we need something upbeat, Southern check the boxes, man. They know how to play to the crowd. They know how to put energy into the game, and they did it. They checked the boxes.
You all just broke it down. I mean, I need to record this. Oh, it is being recorded. It's going to go everywhere so people get a better understanding. You're exactly right in terms of coming in, and it's different when Jackson State is at home.
Yep.
Because they have the way they march in. So it's hard for them to lose at home, the zero quarter. And they're solid in terms of the halftime. But on the road, you got to take it to another level. They got the fifth quarter, but that zero quarter was questionable. I had to give it to the Hornets. Halftime, you had to give it to the Hornets a little more energy. And then the inability to push up to the team. And this was the perfect game where you needed the Sonic Boom of the South to support the team.
I need you in it on third down.
Most people thought about, like you said, random songs when your quarterback has it and you're trying to win the game. You get the L with that. You got to support your team. And perfectly, Prairie View coming in there, you know, it had a little bit of something. Started early, and they're pretty much in it. But you knew who brought it. Halftime they did. But what really was the impactful, not just getting the lights turned off on them in terms of the fifth quarter, they won that. But the fact when Southern made the score in the third quarter, their ability to almost magnify that score.
There it is.
Everybody up, the fans up, their teams up, was utterly what you talk about in terms of marching sport and how you do that. That's why I'm so tough on FAMU. You're a great band, but if you're not supporting your team at a football game, that's an F. That's a zero. You get an F squared. You're not doing anything. People love the bands, but if you're not in coordination, it's good. And FAMU has a great game day atmosphere when you bring in the DJ, but it has to be all coordinated. Nobody is more important than the other piece. Football team, not more important than the band. The band is not more important than the team. It has to be in coordination. And that's one thing that Southern has going for them. They got it right. So it's going to be tough to knock them out at number one spot if they keep doing it. And they travel to support their team, and they tend to bring home more.
They get on the road. Yeah. Get on the road.
Yeah. If you had a tailgate ranking, they'd be number one in that category too.
I got to stop you there. Okay. Let's not go that far. I ain't conceding a tailgate.
We'll talk about that. That's another show.
About tailgating. Let's get into this second break. Get into the marching sport halftime. We'll be back on the other side after these commercials, and we'll get into the third quarter. We actually get into the games of the week. Obviously, the game is about to start. We'll get you some updates on that. We'll talk about the mid-major matchups, and we got 2 top 10 matchups. So make sure you listen in and get that in there. And then we're going to get into the fourth quarter where we talked about the major division. Stick with us right after this break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Mike Washington, as we get in this a little bit, remind the folks that you're a connoisseur of the tailgate spot, and people don't understand it. Tell us some of the reasons when you talk about what it means to have a top tailgate.
Man, when you have a tailgate, and I've traveled all over, I actually did my MBA on tailgating, the tailgating business, and RV. Dr. Cavil had a chance to review it. So when you travel, it's more than just showing up for your homecoming event. It's how often you show up on the road. That can be impactful. And I'll throw an example. Southern showed up. They showed up 2 days before the game on PV's yard, took up most of the tailgating spot, had creative tailgating slots. That just set the tone. When you pulled up on the yard, you didn't see Prairie View flags. You saw Southern tailgate. It's about the food that's characteristic of your particular region, school, tailgating. Are you known for this? Are you known for this? How do you travel on the road consistently, not just to the classics, not just to the homecomings? How dedicated is your fan base as well? Do you have a group of what I call, let me finish, creative tailgating setups? Don't just show up with a pickup truck and an ice chest. Are you showing up with something elaborate? Are you showing up with RVs, with multiple TVs? Do you put that stuff on the road? The other thing is, how far on the road do you extend? Southern traveled as far as FAMU. They've traveled as far as this place. I got to rank them as one. Jackson State is up there. Jackson State is up there. I'll give it. I'll give it to you.
Excuse me. Sorry,
but there's so much criteria that goes into calling a school a good tailgating university. It involves the alumni. It involves the students. It involves all of the fans of that university. You have fans of certain schools that didn't even attend there that participate in the tailgate. So I put together all this criteria when I was writing this paper, and I looked at some of the most effective schools when it came to tailgating. And HBCU, historically, right? I can talk all day because this was a paper I wrote.
All right, let me let Charles jump in here. He's jumping at the bits. We saw what Jackson State did. We actually challenged a couple of years ago. Obviously, the last year with Celebration Bowl, and their attendance numbers certainly speak to that. We just saw what happened at Montgomery. But we'll see what happens in Houston too. So Mike will get a chance to see that up. We hadn't seen Jackson State in Prairie View in a while. But absolutely. Go ahead, Charles.
I mean, that's the point that I'm going to make. I mean, Alabama State just set a new attendance record. When we were pulling in, all I saw was Jackson State flags all over the place with regards to taking over a spot. The Alumni Association had a whole spot at somebody else's homecoming. So, I'm just starting to take a look at it like, and then you saw it last year, SWAC championship.
Yes,
you saw how we get. You saw how we got.
I saw it.
So I'm not conceding.
But that was a home game. That's a home game.
On the road. Wait till we go to Alcorn.
I want to see you on the. I want to see you on the road, like I saw Southern on the road.
It's one state over. They supposed to be on the road. Let's see if you pull it out somewhere else.
I'll tell you this. Wait until I bring out the whole ranking for tailgating. Jackson State, just a little hint. You probably be excited, Charles. With that being said, let's get back into what we're supposed to be in this segment. Mid-major division, and this is an excellent matchup. It's top 10. CIAA game of the week. Bowie State Bulldogs. Bowie, Maryland. Breast cancer awareness. CIAA, it is the Northern Division up for grabs. Number 1. Virginia Union Panthers 6-4-0, top 25. You got Bowie State, top 25 team previously. You know what they've done. They changed out coaches, coordinator, but they still found a way to get a big-time win, which is a top 10 matchup. They come in at 4-2, 3-1. This is a big one. I'm excited about this matchup. Charles, tell me, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I was ready to hand over to North to somebody else. last week, just thinking that Bowie was not, in their normal Bowie-ness, if you will. But big win last week over Virginia State, and now they have Virginia Union coming to them. This is a tough one. I mean, when you take a look at it, both are in the upper tier in terms of rankings within the CIAA. Normally, I tend to shade to the home team on games like this, but I think Virginia Union is something different this year. You talk about some of the pieces they have on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I think they can go into Bowie, Maryland, and get the W.
Both of these teams are ranked top 25 in region markets. It's in Albany, Georgia, Albany State Coliseum, SIAC East Division matchup at 1 o'clock. The other game is at 12 o'clock, so it's fascinating here. Sticking with you, Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this Benedict and Albany in terms of this matchup?
Woo! I think it's gonna get hot down there in Albany. Let the low country Bulls start up. I think Benedict coming in as the top ranked offense they're obviously undefeated. They have been stopped, but you're going down to Albany, who has the number 2 defense. So I'm gonna call a possible upset in this one. I'm gonna step out on a limb.
When you say upset, are you talking about upset with the team that's ranked number 4?
Yeah,
Let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of this SIAC?
Yes, I said it.
This is a beautiful thing in terms of these matchups. What do you think in terms of these top 5 teams?
Well, it's tough because to me, this matchup kind of mimics Alcorn and Southern. When you remember, Alcorn had that mastery over Southern for I don't know how many years in terms of winning the big one when they needed to have the big one until last year. Southern was able to break that hex. Same thing with Albany and Benedict. Albany has won 8 of their last 9 meetings with Benedict, but I think this is sort of a special season for Benedict. I'm with Mike. I'm going to call the upset on this one. I think they will go into Albany and get the W. The Fighting Tennis Berries do it again another week.
Yep.
Woo-wee. That's it. This game is going to be on HBCU League Pass Plus. BCSN will be doing the production side of this. So we got a little piece of it. So tune in to make sure you can see this matchup. We will have it for you and give you the breakdown on Sunday to let you know. Let's get into our last break. We will also have it on BCSN as well, so you can tune on and check us out. So you'll be able to get it either way, streaming-wise on your phone if you need it, but you can also get it with us in terms of streaming on the BCSN network. So excited about being able to give you this top 5 matchup. Put a lot of work and effort to get it done. So make sure you tune in. Get those numbers up. It's a big one. With that, we'll get into our last break.
Doc, I got to call one of our listeners out. Lennon Blow. He going to call me out. He said, Mike is on here tonight. Break out the new silverware. We have a guest. How you going to call me out? Okay, Lennon, I see how we doing it.
Good one, Leonard. Good one. Tell it. With that, we'll be right back after this break. Stick with us. We'll come back on the other side with the major division. We're going to tell you a little tease, something about the Celebration Bowl, about what these major division teams are looking at, because we're going to talk about the MEAC and SWAC in terms of those matchups. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
With you guys ranked 8th now in the country, and you talked about how you wouldn't want to go to the playoffs if it wasn't going to be financially good for Jackson State.
Right.
If it changes to where you guys could have some home games and it would be financially more to go do the playoff, would you rather go do that?
I'd rather, if we have the opportunity, I'd rather play in the Celebration Bowl. I'd rather do that.
In Atlanta, at the Celebration Bowl. MEAC versus SWAC. Champion versus champion. Only one team will rise above the rest and claim the coveted Celebration Bowl trophy. Come join the celebration at Mercedes-Benz Stadium this December.
We haven't missed the one. We've been in Atlanta. Shout out to John Grant Celebration Bowl. MEAC champion versus SWAC champion. Coach Prime. The guy keeps asking. He said if we had ability, we had an opportunity, he wants to be in the Celebration Bowl. I'd rather be in the Celebration Bowl. I thought that was a perfect answer. With that being said, this game is going on now, so we'll stick in there and get it up there and get your thoughts on it before it gets too far away one way or the other. Durham, North Carolina, O'Kelly, Riddick Stadium, I should say, MEAC, Thursday night game. ESPN 2, 6:30. Can't wait to continue to watch this game after we get off of it. Morgan State Bears 2-3, 0-1 on the road at number 4. North Carolina Central Eagles, they're looking to move back up the polls at 4-1, make their statement as they have their first game in MEAC. Obviously, you see it in the background with Charles. Make sure you can sneak a peek at it. With that, let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup between Morgan State Bears and North Carolina Central Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, I think the question of the game is how can Morgan State, can they control Davis Richard? I mean, he's a guy who's been getting it done week in, week out with his arm and his legs. I think he's the key to the game for North Carolina Central. And on the defensive side of the ball, can Central stop Morgan State's running game? Their running back, I believe he leads the MEAC in rushing thus far, over 500 yards rushing. So the question is, can North Carolina Central stop Morgan State's running game, and can they put some points up? We haven't seen a MEAC team thus far that can slow down North Carolina Central.
What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Oh, mine are the same thing. You got to look at tops in rushing, 180 yards per game. That's North Carolina Central. Davis Richard is number 1 in the league. No, number 2 in the league in rushing, number 2 in passing. So if they can stop that attack, I don't know if I see it, because if you look at defense, Morgan State's, fluctuates between 2 and 3 throughout the year. So it'll be a tough stop for them. If they can control them, they have a puncher's chance of winning this game. Yeah,
Morgan State went 3 and out on their first drive. Obviously, I told you about North Carolina scoring a touchdown. They got the ball the second time and they're driving. They just got an unsportsmanlike penalty against Morgan State. So now the ball is going deeper into the red zone. So North Carolina Central is threatening to score again. They're not careful. This game is going to be a blowout before it even gets started out of this fourth quarter. That you know how serious North Carolina Central Eagles may be, because this is a tough Morgan State team, but they're still building. Just to give you an update for those that are not able to watch, you have North Carolina Central first down on the 13-yard line for the Morgan State Bears. With that, let's get back into it. Major division game, SWAC game of the week. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Mumford Stadium, SWAC Western Division, Saturday, October 15th, 6 o'clock, ESPN Plus. Number 3, Alcorn State Braves, 3-2, 2-0. At number 6, Southern Jaguars, 3-3, 2-1, coming off a big victory against Prairie View, top 10 program, top 5 at that time. And then Alcorn State getting the win over their rival, Mississippi Valley State. This is fascinating. This is unique because they're playing the Baton Rouge for the second year in a row. If you remember last year, because Alcorn did not play in the spring, they had to move a game to Baton Rouge, which is last year. So this is actually the normal schedule where it should have been playing in Baton Rouge. For those that may not have recalled that, that's why this game is not in Lawman. It is actually where it's supposed to be in the first place, in Baton Rouge. Let me stick with you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup with the Braves and Southern?
Rashawn McCray, which quarterback do you get for Southern? Do you get the one that was electric last week against Prairie View, or do you get the one that played against Texas Southern? I do believe that this Southern Jaguar team, they're gelling at the right time. They're getting better week to week, and you see them playing in that manner. And fact of the matter is, their backs are up against the wall. They cannot afford one more loss over there in the SWAC West. So for that reason alone, I think they're going to play with their hair on fire. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars on this one.
Good deal. Good deal. You get North Carolina Central just scores again. That's why I paused. I'm going to go to you, which reminds me of the Southern game. 3 of their first touchdowns were touchdowns on third down conversions, which is something that Prairie View previously defense had been really good. This is a 3rd and 4 in the red zone, and North Carolina Central gets the payoff in terms of getting into the end zone instead of the Morgan Bears being able to make them force to at least try a field goal. You saw that. So as Charles talks about McCray, the quarterback, which one's going to show up, you've seen the ability, at least last game, where they were very efficient on third down and not even just scoring, but the fact that you get touchdowns, getting 7 instead of the 3. What are your thoughts in terms of this top 10 matchup between Alcorn State and Southern? Can Alcorn make the move and make the statement that they are back in the business of getting to that championship game and winning the West? Or is Southern saying, no, we're back, we have Dooley, and we're ready to run and we're ready to rise? I know it's early, but that's what's on the line for this Western Division matchup. What do you think, Mike?
No, I can't disagree with any of you. I think I'm going to jump on the other side of the ball. Which Southern defense are we going to get? Is it that Southern defense that allowed TSU to score 24 points? Or is it that one that's allowed, Prairie View to come in and out at times, or that, played against Prairie View, didn't allow anything in that second half? So which defense are we going to get? We've talked about Mashawn McCray. Which version of him are we going to get? Which version of their defense are we going to get as well? I think their backs up against the wall. I think everybody knows it. They can't afford another loss in the West. I think that goes without being said. And then how motivated is Alcorn State? They have key wins. They had a solid win against McNeese State earlier this year. So, Southern, you saw them starting to gel. But how much is this Alcorn State team starting to gel as really? I don't think we really understand how much they're starting to put it together as well.
Quickly, Mike, I'm going to stick with you because I want to do a little bit in terms of a bonus SWAC game. Jackson State, number 1 in the country, 5-0, 3-0. They're on the road, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, 1-4, 1-1. This is on ESPN, 3 o'clock game. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? Can Bethune-Cookman find a way to keep it close, or will Jackson just continue to kind of roll to what they want to see the way they want the season to end this year?
Unfortunately, I wish I could even say that this is going to be, it's in Jacksonville, Florida, so there's some degree of home cooking there, but I think Jackson State comes in, takes care of business. The only thing I could say is this a watch game? Maybe they get caught looking ahead to Campbell and Southern University coming up, but I with Bethune being ranked second to last in defense, I don't see them being able to stop Jackson State at all, no matter who's on the field. Bethune may fight, but I think Jackson State will kind of get their offense going. They may sleep in the first half or whatever, or maybe they're overlooking because they got Campbell and Southern coming up, but I see Jackson State kind of pulling this one out convincingly.
Charles, is the proverbial trap game, or will Jackson State continue just to march and get things done in terms of their ultimate goal this year?
No, I don't think it's a trap game because this team is laser focused, I think, on the task at hand, and they do a really, really good job. I mentioned this on the pregame show the other night. They do a really, really good job of playing week to week and staying on task. And then one of the things I often marvel at is the in-game adjustments that this coaching staff makes during the course of the game. And the principles never change. Stop the run, make a team one-dimensional, make them throw the ball. And I think that's something they want to make Jalen Jones do in terms of throwing the ball and kind of create some mistakes from there. But one thing to watch is whether this team starts off slow again, because what we've seen now over the past few games is everybody gets up for Jackson State, and they normally hit a switch or they hit a gear somewhere midway second quarter, going into the third quarter, and you don't want to continue to be in that sort of pattern. But we'll see if they come out fast in this one.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Jenkins
That's the only thing to watch out. Will Jackson State be a little sleepy in the first half, and then they hit that switch? But other than that, I think Jackson State continues victorious. Mike Jones just said, "Come on, Mike, it's all corn." I thought I did say all corn, just like all Benny.
Yep, better get it right. They're gonna get you. With that, big kickoff return by Keith Jenkins Jr. Gets it inside the central 30. A kickoff return for over 70 yards on the edge of the goal line. You talking about a big time need to play, but Morgan State gets a flag to kind of back them up. So we'll see if they can find a way to get in there and make it go. With this, the last matchup we have is a MEAC bonus game. Delaware State and Norfolk State. Norfolk State got the big win. That's number 5 Delaware State Hornets 3-2 on the road at Norfolk State Spartans. I believe the Hornets are pretty serious in terms of Delaware State, but Norfolk State found a way to get off the mat. They're 1-0. This is a fascinating game to keep your eyes on in terms of Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of this? North Virginia, William Dick Price Stadium.
Yeah.
It is homecoming, and Norfolk just ruined somebody's homecoming, so they'll be aware. Can Delaware State go in there and do what Norfolk did to Morgan? What are your thoughts on this?
This is the prove it to me game for Delaware State, because normally this is where their fall off happens, somewhere in October. They come out halfway decent, and they've done it again this year. And this is where, games like this, when you get a 1-5 team on their homecoming, that they can't find a way to get over the hump. So for that reason, I got to go with Norfolk State to protect the green and gold, if you will, at home there. I look for Norfolk State to get the W.
Update, we might have us a game here. Morgan State gets a touchdown, pass play. They retreated now up the seam on the third side, on the left side, if you would, as they get a 30-plus yard touchdown, if you would, from Crawley to get in there and get it done. Big time plays by Morgan State going for a point extra. Let me get your thoughts on this matchup, Mike, in terms of Delaware State and Norfolk State. The kick extra point is good, so it's 14-7 North Carolina Central over Morgan State with 5:41 left in the first quarter. Go ahead, Mike.
Normally this game is going to be a lot closer than a lot folks think. Norfolk State's averaging 13.5 points per game. Delaware State's averaging 21 points per game. I would expect Norfolk State to protect home, but it's not going to be as close as we think it is. I think I give them home field advantage, homecoming to protect home turf, but I don't think Delaware State has shown some improvement as of late. So I look for a close matchup with Norfolk State pulling it out.
Shout out to those listeners out there: Noel Price, Anthony Johnson, Michael Lee, A.D. Drew, Thuram Waters, Mary Allen, getting it all in here. Clay K. Creighton, G. Boom Holly, Thomas Einstein Maddox, Joel Jackson, appreciate you, Chuck Hunt, Ricky Burton, much love, Carol Keelam, Eric Evans, appreciate y'all jumping in here to the lab, Donald Crawford, Terry Knighton, Emma Price, William E. Davis, Troy Lamont Coleman is in the house as always. Appreciate all the support. Anthony Johnson, Edwin D. Moore, Wendell Davis, that's brother Davis, LaShawn Harris. Who else we got in here before we close out? Christopher White, I see you. Kate Johnson, appreciate you all giving us much love. Matthew Bradford, in terms of getting it done in so many different ways. Wendy Jenkins Bishop, I see you. I see. Who else we got in here as we come to the close? Michael D. Moore, getting it done. Shannon Edgerson, I'm sorry. Who else we have in here before we go to close? With that being said, Jerome G. Sutton, Herman Bolden, thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. We look forward to discussing the latest news in the lab. Check us out on Sunday morning. We'll be here to discuss some of these big games. Make sure you check out BCSN as we're going to be showing that top 5 matchup in the SIC with all Benny and Benedict to get it done. So we're interested in that. We'll make sure we watch out what's going on in the CIAA. With that being said, Inside Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big, continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to